Right. So if you remember that,
Yeah.
let us give a little bit review that LO1 was the introductory, and in LO2 we did scope, time, and cost management. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we targeted LO3 to be the quality, risk management, and stakeholder management. Yeah.
Yeah.
And LO1 is based on the evaluation. So I just compared and realized that evaluation is basically the another name of the quality management.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah. So basically, the unit specification, they have slightly changed the words. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the quality checking is basically assessing whether everything is going fine or not. Yeah.
Yes.
Assessing, checking, evaluating the with the expected outcomes and the actual outcomes. That is basically the quality, isn't it?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So overall, whatever you see, whatever the initiatives you take in order to check the quality, and obviously the post implementation quality check is also the checking of the quality, because whatever the results you see, want to see, you want to measure, would come under the quality management control, isn't it?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. So what I did, I renamed the previous session in which we only covered the quality. Yeah. So
Yeah.
as a LO4, yeah, and today we will be covering the two of the topics, and which are basically which have been referred from the book. Yeah. As a chapter 11 and chapter 13. The
Yeah.
risk management is the chapter 11, and stakeholder management is a chapter 13. I believe you should have the access to the PDF book as well.
Yes.
Okay, good. So I hope you should be clear now that what we have covered and what we have to cover today. Yeah.
Okay.
And by this session, we will be done with the project management as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And the remaining will be the network information system that we will start from Wednesday. Yeah.
Yeah.
And hopefully in the next coming, I believe even by the next week, everything will be completed, isn't it?
Okay. Yeah.
We hope so. Yeah. In case if the two of the sessions, remaining three sessions, would happen, and there won't be any reschedule. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Now, so LO3 has got about 49 slides, yeah, and in the part 1, and the part 2 has got uh, about 32 slides, yeah. So literally I will be spending like a 30 minutes on the first part until 40 past 3, and then 20 minutes on the stakeholder management, yeah.
Okay.
So the aim of the unit is same, yeah, and let us look at the learning objective of this LO, and which is basically the risk management. Yeah.
Okay.
So what we will do today is understand the risk and the importance of good project risk management, discuss the elements of planning risk management, yeah, and the contents of a risk management plan, risk list common sources of risk on information technology projects, describe the process of identifying risks and create a risk register, discuss qualitative risk analysis and explain how to calculate the risk factors, and discuss quantitative risk analysis. Yeah.
Okay.
So two, I'm not reading the whole, paragraph, just we will be
Yeah.
discussing the qualitative risk and excuse me, and the quantitative risk. Yeah.
Oh,
I hope you should have some idea of the qualitative and the quantitative.
yes.
Yeah. And provide examples of using different risk response planning strategies and discuss how to control the risk and describe how software can assist in project risk management. Yeah. So
Okay.
overall, we will be discussing, you know, these things. So let us start.
Yes.
Importance of project risk management now. Yeah. Project risk management is the art and science of identifying, analyzing, and responding to risk. Yeah. When you say risk management, so you identify first what are risks and are involved. You need to analyze the nature of the risk and be able to respond throughout the life of the project. Makes sense?
Yes.
So the risk word itself, yeah, has to be identified, needs to be analyzed, yeah, analyzed, and then responded. Yeah. So normally the risk management is often ignored in projects. Do you agree?
Yes.
How and why?
Yeah. How does it happen?
I mean, how the risk management is sometimes ignored. How and why?
Yeah, because it's very minute, right?
Because it's very.
Minute. Hello.
No, it's not minute. Basically, it's a major.
Hello.
Hello, yes. Are you able to hear
Hello.
me? Hello, can you hear me?
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Hello. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's when I think
Okay.
when I full size the screen, then
Yeah, I guess it starts getting cut at that time.
yeah, so it makes a problem. So let me keep it in the smaller size. Yeah.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. So I had a question. You said there is a minor thing. It's not a risk management. It's not minor thing, but basically the awareness of the risk and the
Yeah.
potential to know the risk, they sometimes ignore, as well as their the concentration on risk
Mhm.
management is low because of
Lesser
the burden.
compared to others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of the burden of the project. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
However, it's not a minor thing, it's a major thing. It needs to be done into the cycle. Yeah.
Okay.
Like if you look at the spiral model, yeah, then at every iteration the risk and assessment is done. Are you able to recall the spiral model?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the point, that they should have some chosen model, and the methodology. It would help them to consider everything, the implementation, the design, and as well as the risk management as well. Yeah. So
Okay.
mostly the risk management is ignored, but it can help improve project success by helping select good projects, determining the project scope, developing the realistic estimates. Yeah.
Okay.
So even if they ignore, but if they look at into this, they would be successful as compared to the without assessing the risk, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. Now the risk is generally called as a negative risk, and another one is a positive risk. The
Mm-hmm.
negative risk is, let's say, that the sudden risk. Yeah. And the positive risk is that being optimistic and thinking in positive, that in order to reduce any problems would give you more, the good results. In this
Yes.
way, you need to see that, uh, both of them, but at least
Yeah.
negative risk must be addressed. Yeah.
Yeah, it's more
So
important.
yeah, so the dictionary definition is the possibility or the loss of the possibility of loss or injury. That's a risk. Negative risk involves understanding potential problems that might occur in the project and how they might obstruct the project's success. Yeah. Negative risk management is like a form of insurance. It is an investment, right?
Yes.
Because it has to happen. Any accident has to happen, and the things should have been insured. You should not say, for example, if you drive the car, no matter you how expert driver you are, but there can be any chances of incident or accident, isn't it?
Yes.
So you need to be aware of it and be ready for that. Then risk can be positive. The positive risks are the results in a good things happening, sometimes called opportunities. Yeah. So for example, if there was an error, in the programming, then by chance you got to know, yeah, then you would be very, happy to know the particular problem, and you will have an opportunity to improve it, isn't it?
Yes.
So that's basically, the positive risk. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, the project risk management process. So how the overall risk management is carried out? It has to be carried out through a process. Like I explained earlier, the spiral model has a process, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So first you need to have a plan for the risk management. Yeah. So what plan? Decide how to approach and plan the risk management activities for the project. Yeah. So like, doing nothing, just thinking. Yeah.
Yes.
That what activities would involve, then you need to identify it. Yeah.
Okay.
So the identifying is, let's say, like, same definitions we did in the previous sessions. The verb,
Mm-hmm.
the ongoing program, ongoing activity. So you
Yeah.
should be able to determine which risks are likely to affect a project and documenting the characteristics of each. So which risk is,
Okay.
what risk is it? You need to document what type of the risk is it, and further, still this is the middle stage. Yeah. And you need to identify or determine, then performing the qualitative risk analysis, then
Mm-hmm.
you analyze it.
Okay.
First, you plan what could be done, then you determine what has happened, then you analyze the type of the risk, like a prioritizing risk based on their probability and impact of occurrence, that whether that risk is going to happen rarely, maybe repeatedly. Yeah. And then in the next is, uh, you perform the quantitative risk analysis. Yeah.
Yes.
Previously you did a qualitative risk analysis based on the probability. Yeah. You are suspecting and expecting some probable risks. Yeah. And in the quantitative risk analysis, you numerically estimate
Mm-hmm.
risks being expected. How?
Okay.
How? Like a qualitative, you will not have a number, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. You'll have a count.
Yeah. And in the quantitative, you should have been able to get the number of the risk. So quantitative could be more, numerically analyzed. Maybe let's say each and everything should have been, calculated for the risk. Yeah. So you need to check both of them. Yeah.
Yes.
For example, the quantitative could be the functional testing. Yeah. And the
Mm-hmm.
qualitative could be the non-functional testing. Because, for example, you did a functional testing that every unit is, fine, does not have any problem at all in the
Yes.
function. For example, 10 units are fine. But the
Okay.
non-functional, let's say one unit did not perform well, yeah, then it was a probability kind of, yeah, and it
Yeah.
was non-functional risk analysis, yeah.
Yeah.
So you are able to plan, you are able to identify, yeah, and then you are able to analyze quantitatively and qualitatively, and then you be able to respond that risk, yeah.
Okay.
So taking steps to enhance the opportunities and reduce the threats to meeting the project objectives. So why do you respond? You respond, you want to know where is the problem, you want to sort out the problem, you have the chance to correct the problem and
Mm-hmm.
chance to reduce the threat to project objectives of hindrances, isn't it?
Yeah, correct.
Then once you responded, then it doesn't mean that the response has been given and it's okay for every time, but no, you need to keep on controlling the risk continuously. You need to monitor, isn't it?
Yeah.
So monitor it continuously, because the risk can be residual, or it could be the permanent or temporary.
Yeah.
Residual is that it would be residing, yeah, or permanent, or it can go away, isn't it?
Yeah, it can.
So let us same way that risk planning, you would get a risk plan. You need to identify the type of the risk. How you would be identifying? You would be identifying through the risk register,
Okay.
and then you would need to do the analysis, the type of the analysis, the risk, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And after the sorry, and after the analysis, what you need to do? You need to respond to the risk, yeah,
Yeah.
and then control.
Okay.
Yeah. So how many words? Like plan, identify, analyze, and response and control. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Excuse me. Can you give me a minute?
Yeah, yeah, that's sure.
Yeah. Right. So the number of steps are clear now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. So planning would involve the main output of this process, the risk management plan. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That documents the procedures for managing the risk throughout the project. The project team should review the project documents and understand organizations and sponsors' approaches to risk. Obviously, you should only be able to plan if you know the documents of the project from the sponsors, isn't it?
Yes.
Right? Is my voice clear? Is there any, no external noise coming?
No, the voice is clear.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. So planning involves checking the documents of the project. Yeah. And obviously, if you would look at the, project documents, then you should be able to see each and everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
Then topics addressed in risk management plan. Obviously, the plan would look at the project, yeah, and the methodology, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like through which methodology the project would be carried out, roles and responsibilities, budget and schedule, risk categories, risk probability and impact, revised stakeholders tolerances, tracking, risk documentation, isn't it?
Yes.
So from the beginning, you get everything, but it needs to be under your plan. Yeah.
Yes.
Then the plans can have, these terms like a contingency and feedback plans and the contingency reserves.
Okay.
So, for example, if your project is started and whatsoever the phase is, then you should have some plans against the risk. When it comes to the contingency plan, are predefined actions that the project team will take if an identified risk event occurs. Yeah.
Okay.
So contingency is a word that is used for some particular purpose. For example, if A will happen, then you will do the B, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then
Yeah.
the fallback plans. Fallback plans are developed for risks that have a high impact on meeting project objectives and are put into the effects if attempts to reduce the risk are not effective. So if
Okay.
if contingency plans, if A happened, then do B. Then
Yeah.
if B didn't happen, then what else? Maybe C or D, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Then the contingency reserves or allowances are provisions held by the project sponsor or organization to reduce the risk of cost or schedule overruns to an acceptable level. The management reserves are funds held for unknown risk. So one is like the if we look at the contingency and the fallback, for example, is if A then B, and if B fails then C. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the reserves are an additional thing when both of
Mm-hmm.
the things fail and something which goes behind, possibly, let's say, if they tried everything, then it's still, for example, if the cost went high, yeah,
Yeah.
then does the management or the organization have capability to
To
handle
pay.
this?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the contingency reserve is, a kind of extra budget. However, the contingency plan is the alternative actions within an expected course of events. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the fallbacks, when the expected course of events fail, then some alternative trials. Yeah. Okay. So then we move to the common sources of risk information technology project. So
Yeah.
how you get the sources of information? You get it from different studies, from the IT projects, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then Scott Standish Group, yeah, is a name of the group that
Mm-hmm.
developed a kind of sheet here that you should be able to score the potential risk. For example, user involvement, you can give the score of the relative importance. Yeah.
Okay.
For example, the user involvement has a relative importance of 19. Then obviously the risk, the potential risk would be lying at user involvement, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. The executive management support is the next important one, which has a 16 points. And obviously, if the executive management support is less, then it means you are risking the project, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in this way, if you sort out the relevance importance of any criteria regarding the points, and you should be able to identify the potential of the risk.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now The broad categories of the risk are market risk, the financial risk, the technology risk, the people risk, the structure or the process risk, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. So you need to break down the risk structure, like if you remember the work breakdown structure in order to break down your activities. Do you remember it?
Yes.
Yeah. So risk, for example, the business has a risk of competitors, suppliers, cash flow, isn't it?
Yeah.
Technical risk may involve the hardware, software, and network problems. The
Yes.
organizational risk may have executive support problem, user support problem, team support problem. The project management may have estimate problems, the communication problems, and the resources problems. Yeah. So you can do this from the work breakdown structure for the risk breakdown structure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, the potential negative risk conditions associated with each knowledge area are, for example, if during the integration, you can have a risk that inadequate planning or poor resource allocation could be the reason. Yeah. Scope, risk in the scope, the poor definition of the scope, isn't it?
Yes.
The time errors in estimating the times or resource availability. For example, if you estimated the wrong timing, then obviously you will have a risking of time. Yeah.
Correct.
Estimating cost errors, poor attitude towards quality, poor conflict management, carelessness in planning, ignoring the risk, procurement, unforeseeable conditions, lack of consultation with key stakeholders. Yeah.
Mhm.
So these are basically the potential conditions which can be associated with the a risk. Yeah.
Yes.
Now, how you would identify the risk? Previously, we planned the risk, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you should be able to identify the risk using certain techniques like a brainstorming, Delphi technique, interviewing, and SWOT analysis. Yeah. So brainstorming technique is by which a group attempts to generate the ideas. For example, they have the ideas and they should be the experienced people. Yeah. They would be gathering the ideas, but they would be unexpectedly ideas from just their thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then the Delphi method is used to drive a consequences and agreement among the panel of the experts who make predictions about the future developments. So when they use the Delphi method, then from the panel of experts, they expect, yeah, they provide their expertise in order to identify the risk. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not going through the whole paragraph, but I'm just
Yeah.
giving
That's
the
fine.
idea that based on the expert panels, once they said that experts have accepted the risk, that's fine. If they have rejected and they have identified the number of risks, it means it's a Delphi method. Yeah.
Yeah.
The brainstorming was just based on the ideas of many people, isn't it?
Yeah. Correct.
Yeah. Then interviewing is a fact-finding technique for collecting information in face-to-face or phone or email or instant messaging discussion. Interviewing people with similar project experience is an important tool for identifying potential risk. Yeah. So interviewing for the similar projects is one kind of the risk identifying technique. Yeah. And then SWOT analysis, you need to know the strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats can be used during the risk identification. Makes sense?
Yes.
Because you are not, doing the brainstorming, you are not doing the Delphi, which is based on the experts, you are not doing the interviewing from the similar projects. but you are doing the SWOT analysis, like you yourself are looking at the strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's helping you in this way. And then
Correct.
you need to register the risk, whatever the risk are involved. For example, they have some given information. For example, the here is a list. Here is a list of the register. You need to
Mm-hmm.
give it a rank, yeah. And let's say risk, whether it's from where, it's from the new customer. Then you need to write the description, and then the category. It's a people risk or it's a technology risk, yeah. Because the risk can be coming from anywhere, isn't it?
Yes.
So few slides on the risk register. So in the risk register, you will have to, put everything according to it. Is it okay?
Yes. Fine.
So that I should not read everything. Yeah.
Yes. No problem.
So qualitative risk is based on the probability, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So probability, what can be probable the risk? So quantification tools and techniques could be used. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like a probability impact matrix, the top 10 risk item tracking are expert judgment. Yeah. So now we are in the analysis. We discussed the plan, then identification. Yeah. And we are in the analysis now. Yeah. Are you catching the sequence?
Yes.
Yeah. So assess the probability and the impact of the identified risks to determine their magnitude and the priority. Risk quantification tools and techniques include this. So let us see. The probability matrix is written in this way. For example, the probability starts from the low, medium, and high, and what impact that particular risk will have. So you can draw this a chart. For example, at some point, low risk and uh, low probability and the low impact will have no risk, isn't it?
Yeah.
And let's say risk number 2 and risk number 5 and risk number 11 has got a medium probability and medium impact. Risk
Okay.
number 1 and the risk number 4 have got high probability and high impact. Yeah. So
Yes.
is it easy to understand?
Yeah.
Furthermore, chart showing high, medium, and low risk technologies. So for example, under the probability of failure and the consequences of failure at low level are this. For example, medium risk is shown in this way, and the high risk is, obviously less in number of dots. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then top 10 risk item tracking. Yeah. So top 10 risk item tracking is a quantitative risk analysis. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So how you would be doing this? You would be doing this in this way. Yeah.
Okay.
So for example, inadequate planning. Yeah. So you are going to track the number of items basically here. For example, inadequate planning, you need to track month wise. Yeah. In the first month, in the last month, and number of months in the top 10.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's say 4 months, were the risk event. Then
Yeah.
poor definition had a three, points. The essence of leadership had a two, occurrence. Yeah. So that's another way of, risk tracking model. Is that clear?
Yes.
Then watch list. Watch list is a low priority, but you need to have a listing of anything which is not being monitored, but you need to keep an eye on it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then quantitative risk. Yeah. The quantitative risk can be done together with the qualitative, and large projects include this quantitative. by using three techniques, which is the decision tree analysis, simulation, and sensitive analysis. Yeah. So decision tree is in this way. You use the decision tree with expected monetary value chart formula. Yeah. So how you do this? For example, the project one, it has a expected monetary value when you give a probability, let's say 0.20, 0.8, and something like that, and the overall sum up, yeah, is giving you the expected monetary value. Yeah. So using the decision tree and expected monetary value, yeah, it helps in calculating the amount required to manage all identified risks. Yeah. It helps in selecting the choice which involves less money to manage risk. Previously, we analyzed, yeah, analyze, in qualitative way, isn't it? In qualitative way, we were looking at, the graphs indeed, yeah, because they were showing a kind of probability, and probability was a qualitative. But when it comes to the quantitative, yeah, then you use the three techniques, which are the decision tree, simulation, and sensitive analysis. So in the expected monetary value, one kind of the technique, you estimate or calculate the overall value of the project and the risk value. Yeah. Second is, sorry, these are just simple one word meaning to them. Yeah. The calculation. In the simulation, you use a model in order to simulate the behavior.
Yeah.
To know whether the simulation or the model has a risk. And then sensitive analysis is a technique to show the effects of changing or one more variable on outcome. So during the sensitive analysis of risk, yeah, you monitor basically the one thing and see what it can affect to something else. For example, this is a quantitative analysis, and you can see if you would, let's say, if the value of green started from the zero, for example, and if it increased from the left side, then you could see there would be a dramatical change, reduction in the altitude of green to red. Make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, if you, for example, if you are increasing the 5 units, then it is lowering the 10 units on the right hand side.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is called the sensitive analysis for identifying the risk. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you need to plan the risk responses. How you can plan? Either you can avoid the risk, yeah, either you can accept the risk, either you can transfer the risk, or you can reduce the risk. These are the plan responses. Yeah. Are these clear?
Yes, it is.
There are further definitions given against each. What is mean by the avoidance is that you don't take any action or let it happen, something like that. Or you need to have an exposure of these things. So definitions would be self-explanatory, you can go through. Yeah.
Yes.
So these are the responses, and then certain risk mitigation strategies, that how you can reduce the risk. Yeah. So you can create the strategies in the chart.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then response strategies for positive risk, then you need to exploit the risk. Yeah. For the positive risk, you need to exploit the risk, you need to share the risk, you need to risk enhancement, you need the risk acceptance. So exploitation is the strategy involves preparing to take the advantage or benefit from the potential event. So
Yeah.
like a positive event, it is basically the exploitation. You are exposed with that problem and you are happy to tackle it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Then residual and secondary risk, like I explained, the residual risk remain even after responses. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the secondary risk are, if you give a remedy to one thing, then another risk happens.
Yes.
And then controlling the risk is involves the continuous execution of the risk management process in order to respond to risk events. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so output of risk control would be, because it's a continuous, so work performance, and if any change is happening and any updates into the project.
Mm-hmm.
Is that clear?
Yes.
The controlling the risk. Because
Yes.
you would be controlling the risk if it is in the execution, and if you know the performance, if you should
Correct.
be able to know the changes. Yeah. And every update you get, it means everything is under control, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then obviously certain use of softwares would help you in order to manage and process and execute, monitor, analyze the risk, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. So we discussed that how to control uh, le- over here.
Mm-hmm.
You need to identify. Sorry, you need to plan. Then identify the type of the risk. Then you keep on analyzing. Then give it a response. Then monitor it or
Control.
control it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the chapter should be very easy to understand for you at any
Yes,
point
it
you
is.
go through. Yeah, that's good. Now let us go to uh, you know stakeholder management. Yeah, it is
Okay.
very important. Obviously, you would be dealing with the number of people. If you can manage the people, then your project can go ahead, run successfully without
Mm-hmm.
any conflicts. Make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. For example, if we don't go through this part, then you should be able to understand still that what the stakeholder management is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But let us, first we have a picture that what are the stakeholders and how they
Mm-hmm.
need to be managed. Yeah. So these are the tactics that we go through now. So learning objectives, the importance of project stakeholders. Yeah. Because the importance is much more worth to know, isn't it?
Yeah.
Who has the more power, who has the less power, who should have
Mm-hmm.
been given more concentration, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Discuss the process of identifying the stakeholders and to create a stakeholder register. Yeah. And how to
Yeah.
perform a stakeholder analysis, describe contents of a stakeholder management plan. Yeah. Furthermore, understand the process of managing stakeholders engagement and how to use an issue log effectively. So you should have control on your stakeholders. You should be able to engage them, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you can engage them, it would be helpful for the project success, isn't it?
Yes.
Then we'll be discussing the methods of controlling and the uh, you know types of software used in stakeholder management. Yeah. So now purpose of project stakeholder management is to identify all people or organizations affected by the project,
Mm-hmm.
to analyze stakeholders' expectations
Mm-hmm.
because they expect something, isn't it?
Yes.
To effectively engage stakeholders. Yeah, that's why the stakeholder management is important. Now, projects often cause change. Yeah, in organizations and some people may lose their jobs when a project is completed. Project managers might be viewed as the enemies if the project resulted in job loss for some stakeholders. By contrast, they could be viewed as allies or partners if they lead a project. Yeah. So overall, project could affect any number of people. Do you agree?
Yes.
If it is successful, then you will have more partners. If it is,
Correct.
yeah, and if it is reducing the number of people, then it would not be good for some people. Yeah. And in overall, there must be you know consideration of the stakeholders in project. Yeah.
Yeah.
So project stakeholder management involves what? First of all, you identify the stakeholders. Yeah. Then you
Mm-hmm.
be able to plan the stakeholders, their
Yeah.
management, that which strategies effectively will engage the stakeholders.
Mm-hmm.
Because first you know who are the stakeholders, and then you should be able to advise the strategies to make them engaged. Make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Then manage stakeholder engagement. Yeah.
Okay.
So you determine the strategy, then you keep on communicating and working with the project stakeholders to
Mm-hmm.
satisfy their needs. Yeah. And expectations, resolving issues, fostering engagement in project decisions and activities.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then, so managing is the ongoing process. Yeah. First, you identify the stakeholders, then you advise the strategies, then you put on them working, yeah, effectively
Yeah.
to satisfy as well as to get the expectations. Yeah, make sense?
Yes.
Then you need to control, you would need to monitor the stakeholder relationships and adjust plans and strategies for engaging stakeholders as needed. So once you have put every strategy for them so that they should be working well, then you need to monitor. Make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So same way of understanding the stakeholder management is, put it on your fingers, know the
Mm-hmm.
stakeholder,
Mm-hmm.
devise the strategies for them. Yeah. Then put them in the working, or let them work to get the expectations, then keep on monitoring them for their relationships, and then maybe you try to adjust the plans and strategies accordingly. Yeah.
Yes.
So identify stakeholders would give you the stakeholder register. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Previous slide was a theoretical. Now it is giving you that the process of identification of the stakeholders will give you a register. Then plan stakeholder management would give you a plan. Yeah. And then we discussed the execution would give you the, when your strategies are in process, and obviously you would be given the issue log, the change request, or any updates into the project. So project would be carrying out along with the issues, success, and expectations achieved, expectations not achieved, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And how you would be looking at into it, then you would be controlling it basically. Controlling means monitoring the results of your management, stakeholder
Yes.
management, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So further, more detail on these steps in these slides. Yeah. That I did. So what is the sequence? You need to identify the stakeholders. So stakeholders may be any type of the staff. Yeah. And it could be the internal or external, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. The stakeholder could also be Additional stakeholders would be the program directors, project managers, family, labor unions, potential customers, maybe the stakeholders as well. Yeah.
Yes.
You need to create a, like we explained earlier, you need to keep the register of the stakeholders. Yeah. So you
Yeah.
need to have the information of the stakeholders like a name, position, whether they are the internal or external, their role, and contact information, isn't it?
Yes.
Then you need to classify. Yeah. So classification, let's say they could be the, classifying according to their power and interest.
Yeah.
So power and interest, for example, some of them will have a low power, then higher power. Yeah. And
Yeah.
interest may be from low to high. It could be the case that, for example, particular stakeholder may have less power, but, for example, may have more interest, isn't it?
Yeah.
And, for example, if you are making some particular head of the department, and if they have a less interest, then do you think it would be working?
No.
No. So this is called the power interest grid, and this would give you a points whether you have placed the right person or not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then if the stakeholder is engaged, yeah, then whether they can be they can have engagement level. For example, they can say I'm unaware. They would be the resistant. They would not be accepting their responsibility. They would say okay, this is fine, I will have it. Supporting would say yes, definitely, that is good. Leading would be fully aware of any project or their responsibility, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you expect the level of their acceptance or the role, isn't it?
Yeah.
Make sense? Previously it was not, before we gone through the slide, yeah, that we were not sure that at what point they live, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can segregate the number of stakeholders according to their engagement levels, isn't it?
Yeah.
Are these the good notes for
Yes, it is.
managing the stakeholders, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can classify them according to this, points. Then you need to plan. After identifying, analyzing the stakeholder project team, the management plan should include the current and desired engagement levels. So how you would be planned, the level, who is involved, interrelationships between the stakeholders, communication requirements, potential management strategies for each stakeholder, methods for updating the stakeholder plan. It's a good, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if you know what are their levels, how they are interrelated, how they may be communicated, yeah, and what strategies can be applied to them, then apply the method, you are done. Yeah.
Yeah. Correct.
Then one of the sensitive information is that you don't disclose sensitive information regarding the stakeholders,
Yeah.
because if somebody will know, yeah, the about someone else, or for example, if the at some point you have assigned any particular role and they have a interest, but they don't have a power or knowledge, do you think the others would be jealous?
No.
They would be jealous if you would for
Oh.
example, if someone doesn't deserve the particular position, yeah,
Oh, they don't deserve. Okay.
yeah, then they would mind it. So that's why you keep the sensitive information secret
Mm-hmm.
about the distribution work at all. That's the main point of this slide. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Then to sample stakeholder analysis, you can give a analysis that Stephen has a high power and engagement is the leading resistant, something like that. Are you able to understand this? The name, the person, and the power and engagement. Yeah. And how you would be managing the stakeholders, you would be ranking them. Yeah. And expectation, for example, the measure of success for the scope. One second. The stakeholder engagement, you would be giving expectation metrics, expectation management metrics. Yeah. So this can give you, for example, regarding the scope, you can give it a priority. Yeah. And what do you expect? It's given here. And every expectation is given a matrix.
Okay.
Yeah. You can further read this slide and this will make you clear more.
Yes.
Or should I read this?
No, that's fine.
Okay. Then issue logs, you need to create a log for the issues. For example, issue 1 was happened. You describe the issue and its impact, whether it has a more impact or less impact, when the issue was happened, who responded it, who reported it, yeah, to whom it was assigned, like a ticket in the web systems you might have seen, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Then best practices, be clear from the start, explain the consequences, something like that. Yeah. And then how you would be controlling, then ways to control the engagement. Yeah. So there is one thing, probably you can control the engagement by keeping in touch with them using private messages or creating a social blog or a private blog is the idea behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So stakeholder control is basically the keeping communicated in between using some source of social media or anything. Yeah. And then how you would be noting down any issues. There's a issue log, then expectation metrics, and then you analyze the stakeholders according to their power and interest, and then their engagement level. Yeah. And you need to classify, you need to create the register for these stakeholders, and overall you for the stakeholder management, these steps: identification of the stakeholders, and then plan what strategies you want to do and keep them executed, keep on controlling the logs and any changes, and monitor or control then means keep them connected. Yeah. All right. So I hope you should have an idea, and I'm sorry because of the very good stuff and the more stuff, I was unable to go through each and every word, but I hope you should be able to read the material in detail. Yeah. And you try to follow the way the sequence is given in every slide, and I hope you should be okay. If in any case, if you need help or any repetition, I will do for you. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
No worries. See you day after.
Yes, sure.
All right. That's fine. Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Thank you.